Right everyone, what is going on? BusterBarnes here, bringing you my preview for Chelsea's away trip to Spurs in Tuchel's third game in charge of Chelsea in the Premier League. And it's going to be a massive test for the team under their new boss. I'll be giving you guys the team news and, as always, giving you guys my lineup and score predictions as well. So if you enjoy, leave a like, comment down below your predictions, and, as always, subscribe to the channel for more Chelsea FC content. But the news is pretty much as follows. Kurt Zouma and Kai Havertz are both small doubts for the game against Spurs. Might not be able to make the bench. They did suffer some injuries in training. Minor ones though, it seems to be. But I'm not too sure either would have really started anyway. Maybe Havertz with a bit more of a chance than Zouma starting. But yeah, we all know how I feel about Zouma not starting. But that's pretty much our team news in terms of injuries. With Spurs, they're obviously without Harry Kane. So that'll be very interesting for them. Obviously a bit weaker, I guess you could say. But I'm sort of getting a bit of a, PTSD throwback vibe to when Mourinho beat Conte 2-0 at Old Trafford when they had Lingard and Rashford up front. I'm thinking, do we see from Spurs maybe a Son and Bergwijn or a Son and Moura up front to try and cause some havoc? What we do know is it'll be a massive test for our defence because against Burnley and Wolves, we've pretty much just kept the ball the entire time, which is a decent form of defence, but we haven't been tested, haven't conceded a shot on target. So you've got to assume that will probably happen against Spurs, so it'll be interesting to see how we do deal with that as a unit. It will definitely be a massive test and a massive, insight on how good this team can be this season under Thomas Tuchel. With probably quite a lot of pressure on his shoulders from the boards, you would have to imagine, whether that is fairly or unfairly as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who he keeps the same and who he leaves out of the team. If I'm going to have to try and predict this lineup, it's going to be quite hard. He could completely change the formation. We all know that Tuchel's trying out new guys. I think because it's such a big game against Spurs, we are going to see some familiar faces who have been performing fairly well over the last pretty much week. And trying to at least create some solidity there. Will be interesting to see if N'Golo Kante makes his way into the team, who he's coming for. But I'm actually not going to include Kante in this predicted lineup, which might seem harsh, but because it's a big game and because he's been injured, I'm just not too sure about that. I actually listened to a podcast with Matt Lord, London is Blue podcast, shout out to them. Really insightful on some of the backstage things going on at Chelsea, with Lampard, with Tuchel, with Rudiger, Tomori, Alonso, Kante as well. Some really insightful things from him, which I guess can make us feel good and make us feel bad at the same time, depending on your views on some of the outgoings and or non-outgoings of the team. But some interesting, takes on players like Rudiger and Alonso getting back into the team and things like that. And hopefully, one thing that I will take from that podcast quickly, it's a bit off topic, with the Tomori deal going to AC Milan. How frustrating is it, by the way, that Tomori, our fifth choice centre back, pretty much, has gone on loan to AC Milan and is starting for them. They are top of the Italian league, and they're starting him. I honestly just. It baffles me. I hope that he's not going to go. I think that Matt Law was suggesting that maybe the plan is for him not to go. Maybe we've set the option to buy price a bit too high, maybe. We're going to have some words. I'm not too sure. In my mind, he's pretty much gone. But at least that was a small glimmer of hope. But yeah, guys, if you haven't seen that podcast, do honestly check it out. One of the better Chelsea podcasts I have seen. And yeah, but that was a bit off topic. I do want to get into my predicted lineup. I guess I'm kind of almost diverting away from that because I have no clue what it's going to be. He could change to a 4-2-2-2, a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. But I think for safety and for, I guess, likeliness, I'm going to stick with the 3-4-3 formation. Edouard Mendy is going to be in goal. Has started the last two games. 2 clean sheets. Hasn't had anything to do. It'll be interesting to see what happens when he does get tested inevitably by this Tottenham side. The back three is going to be the one that has started the same games as well, and that is Rudiger, Thiago Silva and Cesar Azpilicueta. I'm not too sure how long we're going to see this back three. I could see this formation carrying on for a few more games because it seems to be very effective against these teams sitting back with the low blocks. Now I know we drew 0-0 with Wolves, but we could have had some more chances. I think we just played that game a bit safe. But yeah, maybe we see this formation against Sheffield and against Newcastle, and potentially against this Spurs side, which is most likely going to sit back and look to counter under Mourinho. Who knows? Maybe he'll pull a tactic out of his sleeve, but I think that's what we can most likely expect. You guys all know what I think. I'd rather see Kurt Zouma start. I think his threat from set pieces, his aerial dominance, and just his pace as well for maybe keeping up with those wingers could be good. Like I said though, he is injured anyway, but I'm not sure he would have started anyway. Either way that goes. So yeah, those are going to be the same three. The wing backs are going to be the two ones that started against Burnley, Marcos Alonso and Callum Hudson-Odoi. I can't believe I'm saying that Marcos Alonso is starting, guys, and let's be honest, we all know, if you've heard Alex Goldberg's rant as well, which was just amazing, we all know what Alonso brings to the table. He causes a nuisance in the box, he scores goals. It's left to be said whether he's going to now step up his game and defend well and and pick up the pace and the energy. I don't believe that. I think Marcos Alonso has had a lot of chances from us, and the stuff on the bus, his constant lack of performances, his attitude. I don't really want to see him playing for Chelsea, but I understand why Tuchel will start him in this game. He does love a goal against Spurs as well. So as long as he's playing for Chelsea and he's starting on the pitch, I'm going to support him. But yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to particularly like the guy, to be honest. I think that can be said for most Chelsea fans. Hudson-Odoi on the right wing, our man of the match in our last two games. He's been amazing. This is going to be his biggest test yet away against Tottenham. Some maybe could say that he hasn't performed greatly against some of the big teams. He obviously scored against City, to be fair to him, but obviously we were 3-0 down already. So this will be a massive test for him starting this game, hopefully. At the wing-back role, he seems to be thriving. Obviously, in the attacking phase, we go to more of a 4 at the back of Azpilicueta at right back, meaning that Hudson-Odoi does go up the pitch a bit more. It'll be interesting to see what he's like in the defensive phase. We obviously saw him track back against Wolves, but that was just one moment, so we'll see what happens more consistently. But yeah, he's been amazing. It would be awesome to see another great display from him. And this could be a star-making performance if he plays well against Spurs, so hopefully he does so. But you've got to think that Mourinho is going to have some firm tactics set up for this Chelsea team, so we'll see how we deal with those. By the way, the Brady quote about Hudson-Odoi was absolutely hilarious, by the way, saying that he knows where he is, he can't do anything about it. Absolutely great stuff from the 20-year-old Chelsea winger/wing-back. But midfield 2, obviously now, I was tempted to put Kante in because Tuchel could just throw him in, but I think because of his injury, I'm not too sure. I am going to stick with Kovacic and Jorginho. I'm not the biggest fan of this duo. They were very good against Burnley, to be fair to them. Obviously, we had possession. They did do more forward passes than I think I've ever seen them do. They created more chances than I think I've ever seen them create. So maybe this is a new lease of life for them. Honeymoon phase though with the manager, not too sure if I'm convinced yet. Going to have to give me a few more weeks of these performances for me to come around to these guys. I do think it's a matter of time before Kante, gets in there somewhere. Maybe not for every game, but yeah, I don't know. I'm still just not 100% convinced. I think, like I said, we haven't had to defend much at all in the last two games, so it'll be interesting to see how these two cope against, Tottenham's counter and maybe their press as well. So I think this will be a really big test for those two in the midfield to see how good they really are. By the way, was it just me that didn't realise that Jorginho is actually taller than Kovacic? I thought Jorginho was tiny. He's actually 5'11" and Kovacic is like 5'9", so I didn't realise that, but that's, you learn something new every day. Not that has any relevance to anything, but yeah, but I could see Kante maybe in there, but I don't think so. Also, the wing-backs doesn't mean that Reece James doesn't start again. Hopefully we'll see him start soon. I think that if we go to 4 at the back, we might see James a bit more. But yeah, I did think that maybe we could see Hudson-Odoi on the left and James on the right, but then that doesn't really work with the attacking phase because that would mean that Rudiger goes to left back, which doesn't really make any sense. But yeah, that's going to be sort of the midfield/defence. Front 3 now, this was going to be the place that really you could potentially see the most change going on. I think someone that's not going to change is Mason Mount. Absolutely insane against Burnley, probably our second best player, and also just was amazing when he came on against Wolves. No reason why he can't start. We know Tuchel wants to press high from the start of the game with the attack. He's great at doing that. Won the ball more times than anyone else, I think, in that game against Burnley up high in the pitch. Attacking play was good, some wayward shots, but I do think that eventually we will see him in the midfield again, and I think that's probably where he is best, with his defensive capabilities, his creation from deep, his shooting as well. I think that's probably the best place for him, but I think in this system against Tottenham, we're going to see him as that sort of inside right forward. The person I think we're going to see as the left inside forward is going to be Christian Pulisic. Hasn't started the last 2 games. Some inferences that maybe because Tuchel's already played with him, already sort of knows what he's like, so wanted to try out some other players. Makes sense. I think Pulisic, he came on, got an assist against Burnley, was decent in that game. I'm not too sure he was, anything special, but against Wolves, Ziyech and Havertz, they were okay, didn't really perform loads. Obviously, Ziyech got a rest, though, against Burnley, so maybe Tuchel's planning on bringing him straight back into Spurs, so that could potentially be a start that happens. But I think Pulisic's going to get his go starting, and I think that hopefully he'll do quite well. Hopefully he can rediscover that, that and restart form that he had last season, where he was just absolutely immense, and we all thought he was going to be the next Hazard. Not exactly like Hazard, but he was on great form, and hopefully he can recover that. Obviously, this means that Havertz won't be starting. He's injured anyway. Apparently, Ziyech maybe misses out. Hudson-Odoi obviously at the wing back. So Werner not starting on the wing either. I do have Werner starting up front. Now, this was difficult. I honestly think it could be any of our 3 strikers, Abraham, Giroud or Werner. And to be honest, I think if I was choosing myself, I think I would start Abraham. I mean, he only had a half against Burnley. Yeah, it wasn't his best game, but he's performed really well this season, just generally. And I think that he deserves another chance to try and prove himself against Spurs. Giroud didn't impress me really against Wolves at all, and maybe it's just me talking. He's just a bit old. I wouldn't really start him. I'd just rather start someone else. Now, obviously, this is a clutch time, though, for the club, so maybe we see Giroud start. Wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be against it either, by the way. I'm not against any of these strikers starting. The reason I've gone with Werner is because I guess in the club size, obviously, he's a big signing. You want to see him playing as much as possible. He was alright against Burnley. He probably put in the best performance out of him, Abraham and Giroud over the last 2 games, in the sense he was missing. He didn't have a great game. His touch wasn't great, but he was getting in the right positions. He was dangerous. He created a couple chances. I think out of the 3, he had the best performance, and I think he should start. And whilst this is the thing, guys, I don't think Tuchel's taking this into account, or anyone necessarily remembers this, but if you look at our last 2 games this season against Spurs, in the cup game, Werner scored. It might have been his first goal for us, actually, professionally, and that wasn't the Brighton friendly. And I believe in the game where we drew 0-0, he actually had the ball in the back of the Tottenham net, and he was just a little bit offside. So maybe Werner's going to have a knack for scoring against Tottenham. I don't know, putting the ball in the net against them. It's going to be a test. Tottenham very physical, big centre-back, so maybe you don't start him. I just don't know, guys. We might not even see a 3-4-3. I think we probably will, but with Tuchel, I think we're going to see all sorts of formations and lineups as the season goes on. So that's why I'm not too worried at the moment about the lineup. But I think when it's a big game, you want a bit of consistency. So that's why I think this team will be quite similar to the one against Burnley. Even if I'd love to see Kante in, Abraham in, Reece James in, I just don't think it's going to happen quite this game. But that is my lineup, guys. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below, and your predictions as well. If I want to get into my predicted scoreline, it's a tough one. It's going to be a tough game. Even with Spurs without Kane, they could set up to counter with Son and Moura. It could be tough. I'm going to back us, though. We've been in good form. I'm going to back us to, our first big win of the season, really, in the Premier League. We haven't really done well in the big games. And I'm going to go for a Chelsea 2-1 win against Spurs. For Spurs, I'll go for someone obscure, because it always seems to be someone obscure that scores against us. I'll go for Bergwijn to get the goal for Spurs, because why not? 2 Chelsea goals. I'm actually going to go for Timo Werner and Marcos Alonso to get the Chelsea goals. Alonso scores against Tottenham. We all know how much we can't beat this guy. When we all slate him, he comes and he scores a goal, and it makes it seem like he's had the best performance ever. Maybe that'll happen against Spurs. I hope it does. I hope he does score, because I really want us to win. It's going to be a big test for the team, and will be a massive 3 points as well, because if you look at the table, yes, there's teams around us with games in hand, but Everton, Villa and Spurs, all their games in hand are kind of against each other. So obviously there'll be points dropped there. So if we can beat Spurs, we have a decent run after that. And maybe we can make our way up the table a little bit. So yeah, that could be very good. Obviously, I'm not betting on anything. It's Tuchel's first major test as our manager. You know, we can't go expecting the world from it. But hopefully we can do enough to pull out a win against our London rivals. So I do hope, guys, you've enjoyed this video. My review for the game will be out after it does take place, hopefully reviewing a win. And yeah, if you enjoyed this, please leave a like, comment down below your predictions, and subscribe for more Chelsea FC content. I do hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Come on, you Blues, and I'll see you next time.